Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video we are going to be talking about well, the best champions to take up to rank 4 as your first 7 stars. Now at the first half of the video I will effectively give you guys my top 5, top 6, and then we're going to go over each different class, which again I think is quite important because for most people the first rank 4 is going to be random based on a class jump that you get, and there is one class that is significantly worse to pull, I think, for most people than others, but we're going to get to it a bit later on. So I think overall the best champion to take up to rank 4 in this entire game is Onslaught. Onslaught just fits just about every single criteria. He is great for every single piece of content, both offensively and defensively. On top of it all, if you do care about prestige, he does have a very high prestige in the game as well. And yeah, I don't think there's much else to say. Onslaught, if you don't care about prestige, then he's perfectly fine unawakened as well, in my opinion, to take up to rank 4. In general, he is pseudo-immune to a ton of things: bleed, incinerate, and shock. And it doesn't make contacts with his mediums in the first light. And you have increased ability accuracy, and you destroy the entire skill class, and you can do a ton of weird and different matchups with Onslaught. And obviously he's more than capable defender. He's a meta champion for Alliance War, both offensively defensively. He's a meta champion for Battlegrounds, and arguably the champion that works in the largest amount of metas overall. And then just about anywhere else in the game you can also use him quite easily. So yeah, I'd say Onslaught's probably the best option to take rank 4. Then moving on, I think the second best is Serpent, because Serpent kind of fits all the same criteria as Onslaught, except he's not that great as a Battlegrounds attacker, but obviously he's more capable as a defender for Alliance Wars and Battlegrounds, to a point where at the moment rank 4 Serpent is borderline unkillable on certain nodes in Alliance War, or at the very least has a very high rate of getting KOs. Amazing for long form content in Necropolis and the like, great for a lot of challenge fights such as Eternity of Pain, so on and so forth, and also was one of my MVPs for 8.4 and 9.1, and probably will be for 9.2, because again, for longer form fights where the time is not of the essence, he's an amazing attacker, and definitely the biggest nightmare defender in the game. Now, when we're talking about Serpent and just about any champion that you're going to take to rank 4, you do need to keep in mind that whoever you rank 4 is likely going to get auto-banned, or often is going to get banned. So this also could be a very solid way for you not to really worry about fighting Serpents on defense too much in Battlegrounds. Right, moving on, spot number 3, I'm going to go with Deathless Thanos. Might be a bit too high, but I think he's built for it. Because again, he is seemingly good for just about everything in the game. Obviously, we'll see how well he interacts with specific metas, but he's one of those champions that is just jam-packed with abilities. Many people have quite high access to and would have him at a high sig level too. And yeah, he's a dual-purpose champion, a defensive threat as well as offensive powerhouse. Does a large amount of matchups. Has, you know, that armor shatter, which can be tremendously useful, access to specific dot, fairly large hit damage in itself, quite tanky, chip damage mitigation, and most importantly, you can do a lot of quite crazy matchups with him, maybe not necessarily perfectly, but with relatively large amount of health remaining. You know, if you really want to, you can take down Photon quite well with him, because on counter punch he does bypass the miss mechanics as well, and shuts down evade, so on and so forth. I have done Bullseye with him quite successfully in several metas. Again, it's not perfect, but it works out quite well, because with him you can shut down the evade, and after baiting the initial level 1, you can just push Bullseye at level 2s. And yeah, overall, really do like the guy so far. Might be a bit, you know, a less tested champion than some others here, but so far he's seemingly been doing very great in contest. Then I'm going to go with Photon. Photon still is one of the more dominant defenders in the game, and absolutely criminally underrated attacker. On top of it all, most of the champions that kind of kill Photon, outside of the dedicated counters, for most part, do try to get it done by nuking her. Because every single time you do have to wait out her charges or take that level 1 in the block and try to parry everything perfectly, you know, it comes with the cost, either time or health. And yeah, I think Photon is extremely well deserving of rank 4. If I get science gems, then I'm not going to think twice about who I rank up there. So that would be the top 5, and then top 4. Fifth spot could be Mr. Sinister in reality. I think that would be an absolutely amazing rank 4 as well. Because as soon as the Equity Mastery gets involved, his damage output is not necessarily the highest, but the amount of matchups he can do is quite crazy. And if you do have a rank 4 Mr. Sinister, I think that will leave quite a big impact and, you know, let him be significantly faster. And obviously, as a rank 4 Sinister, being on defense is also a whole lot scarier. So I do think he is also a very, very worthwhile option to consider. And the last champion I'm going to here mark is Chavez, because in general she genuinely is, I think, one of the more versatile champs in the game. And maybe it's just my personal bias speaking here, but overall, out of all of my 7 stars, she has done the most for me when we're discussing challenge modes, when we're discussing alliance war, when we're discussing battlegrounds and different metas and everything else. She has, you know, a solid amount of defensive value, just like everybody that I mentioned really on this list. Every single one of these champions is, you know, at the very least from good to a really, really powerful defender. And she's amazing offensive control champion, especially when it comes to dealing with power gain, which command allows spamming. So those are the 6 best champions to take to rank 4 in my opinion. Now, quickly going over other classes, I think in skill class you have the Bullseye, because one of the weaknesses of the Bullseye is that his health pool isn't necessarily the biggest, and he is kind of like subject to potentially getting nuked. And whenever you do have to spend more time in the fight with Bullseye, that typically does involve with significantly more chip damage taken. And yeah, I think Bullseye is also a solid option to take to rank 4. And for the first bit, while Bullseye is, you know, one of the few rank 4s out there, he might actually become somewhat usable on attack, because that's kind of has been always his thing. As soon as he's punching down, he's actually quite capable attacker in a pinch situation as well, if your opponent does have like a perfect counter for him. Not to mention that he would be banned almost always, so you wouldn't really have to deal with Bullseye yourself. Then we have Crossbones. If you're good with Crossbones, I think rank 4 Crossbones would be amazing. I think rank 4 Crossbones would tear through a ton of different matchups quite easily. Then in tech class, obviously there are other skill champions as well that we can talk about, that I'm not going to have enough time to go over everything and everyone. If you want me to make more in-depth class specific lists, do tell me now, but yeah, there's definitely still champions like, you know, Hitmonkey, potentially, you know, even Korg might not be out there, or Okoye, and yeah, rank 4 Molman sounds quite sexy. Tech class, I think Prowler and Warlock really are the champions that are just about perfect for rank 4s, because both of these champions are in essence extremely versatile, that do a ton of different matchups. And if there is a critique on both Prowler and Warlock, is that they do not necessarily have the highest damage output, especially with Warlock, in case he doesn't run recall masteries, or in case of Prowler, just in general, if he's going up against kind of like chunkier champions. And whilst they still are tremendously valuable, I think these are the champions that actually benefit a lot from being at the highest rank possible, because then you're able to finish these fights, you know, in a competitive, speedy fashion, whilst again being able to cover a lot of ground. And then additional option obviously is somebody's gonna do this. That's gonna be Starhand Spider-Man. I think Starhand Spider-Man at rank 4 would be an auto ban just about always. And then another mention is Red Skull. I do think Red Skull kind of needs it less, if that makes sense. That's why I'm highlighting here Warlock and Prowler more. Moving on, skill class, science class, I think Silk is a very, very good option, because again, as soon as you are able to nuke something down with that level 2, Silk becomes immediately more powerful. And if she would be rank 4, I don't think there would be many champions that would survive a proper level 2 from Silk. Titania, again, always an option. Again, there are the issues with Titania, and more specifically that Intimidate is barely a suggestion to AI, but it's still kind of undoubtable that Titania would benefit from the rank 4 being able to nuke much more with that level 3 cycle. Then there's Count Nefaria, obviously one of the prominent science champions, also a capable defender in quite a few circumstances. And he's not necessarily the fastest, especially if Unfazed is involved or you do have something slowing you down slightly. So having that extra rank would help quite a lot. And moving on to the Mystic class, obviously we do have to mention our two chonkies, which is Sasquatch and Rintra. Either one of these would be a menace, because both of them have offensive uses. I actually think that Sasquatch is the better attacker out of the two, at the very least, kind of getting more consistent results, working more often. But both of them do have their offensive use, and obviously just the massive sheer amount of health that opponent would have to tear through would be quite interesting. We have Shatra. Again, for those who care about prestige, she does have one of the highest ones in the game, and she's extremely versatile in her damage delivery method. She doesn't have the highest amount of damage, but there's nobody that's really immune to her wasps. So she's, again, one of those champions where an extra rank would go a long way to make her even faster, whilst being able to address some of the bigger threats in the game period. And obviously there's Juggernaut. Somebody will rank for Juggernaut. I mean, I would love to as well if I was in a way earlier position. But Juggy's up there. And last one is Enchantress as well. With Enchantress, again, it's like, you rank for Enchantress, you just about never gonna fight Enchantress in Battlegrounds, and she's gonna be good for Alliance or defense. The reason why I kind of mention her a bit later is because she's utterly useless on the other end, and you would do nothing with your Enchantress. If you rank up Bullseye, or if you rank up Serpent, I can guarantee you will get value out of these champions offensively as well. But if you rank for your Enchantress, you're gonna be better off still using like a 7-star rank to something than Enchantress on attack in most situations. But obviously, if you do want the strong defender for Battlegrounds and Alliance War, there you go, Enchantress would also be a suitable option. Plus, yeah, you'd pretty much never have to fight her again. So those are the best champions to take to rank 4, in my opinion, in kind of short abridged version. If you do want to hear kind of like more in-depth thoughts of each class, which of the more popular champions I think benefit more or less from that extra rank, I can surely oblige with that request as well. But do let me know in the comment section. Meanwhile, let me know what you guys think about Onslaught being number 1. Then we have Serpent, Thanos, Photon, Mr. Sinister, and Chavez as the top 6 options to take to rank 4 as 7 stars. That is it for this video though. I do have another interesting one coming quite soon, if my head stops pounding me tonight. Either way, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hit that like button, and I'm gonna catch you guys soon. Bye-bye. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about the next